Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. This is Mr. Middlepath, and inshallah, in this video, well, first of all, let me say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In this video, I'm going to be going over the Red Pill and how the Red Pill movement is connected with the alt-right. Not only connected, but they're literally part of the same community and they feed into each other, and how they have similar beliefs and ideologies, and they share similar foundational and fundamental principles. And I'll be proving this in the video. I'll also be proving that this is already affecting our Muslim community, what we can expect in the future if this is to continue, and how we can solve this issue or possible solutions. And I'll leave the floor open for a discussion, inshallah, after the comments. After the video is over, please leave comments below. I'll ask for some patience. That's all I'm asking for, really, because this might be a longer video. Just have the patience to go through all of the evidence with me. So let's get started, inshallah. I'm going to share a screen. And let me share. So you guys all know who Rollo Tomassi is. If you're involved in the Red Pill movement, Rollo Tomassi is considered the godfather of the Red Pill movement. He's really not. A lot of the ideas that he's come up with are essentially ideas that are regurgitated and recycled from the pickup artist community. And I've made a video on that from before, on how the pickup artist movement is is what set up the foundational beliefs of the Red Pill community. So let's get into it.
Or the other archetype.
You want to hear a funny story about Sigma males?
Sure. Yes, I do. I do.
So I made a fake Japanese girl account on Seeking Arrangement in Tokyo, right? To as a learning experiment for the guys in my community, and it was called like Bitcoin Kawaii Girl, right? Which means like Bitcoin cute girl, and some dorky Singaporean speaking Asian guy was like going in depths and telling me about the power of Sigma male nature. And I was just like, wow, sounds so strong, like just kind of feeding his necessary ego, feeding his very hungry ego. And it was just hilarious. I was just like looking at this guy. I'm like, this is the kind of guy that believes in the Sigma male. Like this basically Sigma male is like a beta male who knows what it takes to be an alpha male, but refuses to do the work.
So, yeah. and honestly, I think that one of the appeal of the actually misunderstanding, I should say, of the Sigma male. And by the way, Sigma male is part of sociosexual hierarchies.
I just want to pause that for a second so I can confirm that he is, even though he's bashing the idea, it sounds like he's bashing the idea of Sigma male. He does believe in it. He's saying Sigma male is part of the sociosexual hierarchy. And I'm going to elaborate on this point in a bit.
That Vox Day really kind of came up with when we're talking about alpha, beta, delta.
We're going to go into who is Vox Day very shortly.
The gamma, omega, and sigma was supposed to exist outside of that, right? He's the dark triad alpha.
Let me rewind that a little bit so that you understand what Vox Day, the theorist, added to the alpha beta dichotomy that the pickup artist community used to have and the Red Pill community used to have, was that they believed in alpha male, beta male. So Vox Day came along and added omega male, gamma male, and I think sigma male.
Vox Day really kind of came up with when we're talking about alpha, beta, delta, gamma, omega, and sigma was supposed to exist outside of that, right? He's the dark triad alpha, right? Everybody doesn't want to be part of the system. So I'm not a delta. I'm actually a secret sigma. No, you're not. You're really. In fact, if you're saying you are, you aren't.
You're okay.
Yeah. You even admit you're trying to.
So let's just pause there, everyone, and I'm just gonna explain very shortly that he's not saying he doesn't believe in Sigma male. He's making fun of people that say that they're Sigma male. So it's kind of that whole thing that if you're alpha, you're not going to say you're alpha because you know you're alpha and there's no need to prove it type of thing. But he does agree with the existence of this category. So who is Vox Day is the question. So let's take a look at who Vox Day is so that you can understand where I'm coming from. So we're going to go back here, and Vox Day, just so that you understand, this channel is not Vox Day's channel, right? So if I open up this YouTube channel, Judeo Christ, right? He has a bunch of Vox Day's old stuff, like really old stuff. We go to his about. I am not Vox Day. Vox Day's official channel is here, HTTPS, YouTube, blah, 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 right? So if I was to copy paste that, right, and I was to put that somewhere, like let's just add a new tab, and I'll put that right there, we'll get the channel, the dark stream,
forward,
which is Vox Day's channel, right? And we see if we type in the video, so if I go back to Judeo Christ and I type in the Vox Day's dark stream, St. Breivik and Manchester, right? So if I was to type in Breivik, I'm not going to get it because this is an old video that got deleted, and you're going to see why it got deleted online. And he's been deleted multiple times. His videos have been deleted. So someone who's a fan took one of his very old videos from 2017 and it got deleted. And because that video got deleted, so someone who's a fan reposted his stuff. And we'll go to his channel in a little bit. And we'll go to his YouTube channel, you know, not his YouTube channel, sorry, his blog. Let's take a look right here.
Welcome to the Dark Stream. Vox Day, voxday.blogspot.com, and Infogalactic News. So, obviously, everybody's aware of what's been going on with the 22 kids, mostly who were murdered in Manchester. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we had some interesting discussions on the blog today, and it was kind of interesting. You know, a number of people get offended when I refer to Saint Breivik, and specifically, you know, the phrase that I often use, Saint Breivik, pray for us. But
that's all we need to see. You all can watch this. I'm going to link it in the bottom. So for background information, who is Anders Breivik? Anders Breivik is this guy. All right. Let me just show you some pictures. Anders Breivik is this guy. He's the guy who did the Oslo bombings, and he killed 77 kids in an island resort, or like in an island off of Norway. And the media at the time didn't cover the story correctly. You guys get what I'm saying? The media at the time was saying, oh, he just went in, he's a madman, and he shot up 77 people. But that's not really the case. He wrote a 1,500-page manifesto talking about how the liberal order has taken over and how he was going to seek revenge and how Muslims were the enemy, public enemy number one. But because the Muslims were being let in by the liberals, he decided to attack the liberals instead in his terrorist attack. And after, in his manifesto, he writes, okay, well, because the liberals are the ones letting in the Muslims, and the liberals need to get removed, so I'm going to go after the liberals' children. So all those people on that island that he killed in Norway were on like some type of camping resort or some type of, you know, some type of get together, and all of them were children of the liberal political party in Norway. And he went in and he killed all of them. It was a really, really big deal. And I haven't happened to have read the whole manifesto he wrote cover to cover. And and a lot of it is copy paste from other alt-right sources, right? And this guy, Anders Breivik, he has Templar imagery in his manifesto. Knights, he considered himself a Knights Templar, and he wanted to start like a neo order of the Knights Templar and so forth. So that's just to understand why Vox Day flashed the Deuce Volt. Sure, the Deuce Volt is a Crusader slogan, which means God wills it. So before they kill someone, they say Deuce Volt, right? And you can go on the Crusader forums and Reddits, and you can see their subculture, right, online. So they see themselves as knights. So he approves of Anders Breivik and what Anders Breivik was doing. So then the question is, why is Rollo Tomassi citing him as a source for sociosexual theory? If Redpill really is a true praxeology and study of human nature, why is he citing this guy, who Vox Day, by the way, doesn't have a degree in sociology, doesn't have a degree in psychology, doesn't have a degree in anthropology or any of these kind of things. He's just been an alt-right blogger, a very well-known alt-right blogger for a very long time. He's written books and so forth. So he's considered an authority figure within the alt-right, and he has a lot of respect and people follow him, and he's considered to be pretty hardcore. So they're citing him, the Red Pill community is citing him as a source of social sexual theory because he is considered an authority figure within the alt-right, and that makes him an authority figure within the Red Pill movement in general. So that's proof number one. I'm just going to show you guys in general. That's proof number one. Let's look a little bit more about who Vox Day is, right? I'm not going to show you that video because there's no point, but like for those who don't know who Anders Breivik is, you know, this is the Wikipedia page, right? I mean, he did the Oslo bombings in 2011, so this was a while back, right? And he wrote his manifesto, all of that. I mean, you guys can do a little bit of research on your own. I'm not going to go into the whole thing, but he was found sane and guilty of murdering 77 people. They tried to make him sound like he was insane, but when I read his 1,500 page document, it was very coherent. No insane person could write something like that. He knew what he was doing, and he believed in his political ideology. And how does this affect us as a Muslim community, right? So when I'm going to open up the Reuters, and it's not opening up, but how does this affect the Muslim community, right? And you see the numbers are different, right? 93, because he killed 77 people on the island, but then he also did a bombing to distract the police. So he did a bombing on some street, a car bombing, and that bombing affected and hurt a lot of people. And then while the police were busy with the bombing, he went to an island and shot up a bunch of people. And so the blonde killer of at least 93 people in Norway sees himself as a righteous crusader on a mission to save European Christendom from the tide of Islam. Just so you understand, Christendom doesn't mean that they're actually Christian. So Anders Breivik writes in his manifesto, he writes that there's atheist Christians, Christian Christians like evangelical Christians, and people who just are cultural Christians, right? So how can someone be an atheist Christian? It means that they believe in the values and the symbolism of Christianity. It means ultimately what he's trying to say is that these people get together and they believe in Western civilization as a concept. Regardless of their religion, they just believe in Western civilization as a concept, which usually translates to some form of ethno-state nationalism or some form of white supremacy, even though they say they don't consider themselves as white supremacy, but they see Western civilization as the civilization history of Anglo-Saxon, white people, Aryan, and so forth. So it's a very mishmash pot of different beliefs, but the main thing is that belief of Western civilization as a concept. And what is Western civilization? It's very difficult to define. So they define it as in terms of some type of racial terms. Does that make sense? And or an ethno-state and so forth. And they define it as not Islam, right? So not Islam. That's why you'll have atheists and Jewish people and conservatives, and then people who identify as Viking pagans and all of these things. They can all group together in a type of space and talk about their belief as Western civilization or their agreement on Western civilization. And one of the, even if they disagree amongst each other, one of the foundational principles they agree on is, okay, well, at least we're not Muslim, we're not Islam, and we don't want Islam in. So go back to share screen here. So how does this affect our community? Did he not kill Muslims? No, he didn't kill Muslims, but not because he likes Muslims. He didn't kill Muslims because he thought that killing the liberal children would be more effective. So a far-right extremist killed 77 people in Norway. A decade on, the hatred is still out there, but attackers' influence is low. This is simply not true, right? That his influence is low. His influence is actually very high, with the whole statement that the alt-right has, which is Saint Breivik, pray for us. So I'm going to show you guys. You all remember the New Zealand mosque shooter who 2 years ago in 2019, he shot up everybody in that mosque. I think he killed like 50 something people. He went and he recorded it from his GoPro. Tarrant, I think was his name. So the man who killed 51 Muslim worshippers at mosques in Christchurch is considered appealing his life. So this is another story. So white supremacist Brenton Tarrant, 31, was sentenced to jail for life without parole. Just so that you guys understand, Tarrant himself has his own manifesto, and I read that too. And he cites Anders Breivik as one of his heroes. So there you go. This is how this affects our community, right? So when you look at someone like Rollo Tomassi talking about social sexual theory, you're like, okay, well, what does this have to do with alt-right terrorism. But then you have to really use your common sense and see, okay, well, where are these theories coming from? Why is he citing someone like Vox Day, who sees Anders Breivik as a hero? You guys get what I'm trying to say here? So anyways, Brenton Tarrant cites Anders Breivik as his hero, and he goes and shoots up people in the mosque. And there's evidence to say he did the attack alone, but there's evidence to say that he didn't do the attack alone, but there's also evidence that we have that he trained in Europe. Because, you have those hardcore ethno-nationalist Europeans who will train with fighters in the Balkans and fighters in the people that fought the Muslims in the Caucasus regions and so forth, right? So veterans from those conflicts will train ethno-nationalists, right? And white ethno-nationalists. And this is like a well-known fact too. So let's go back to share screen. I mean, we're just really at the tip of the iceberg at this point. So what I want to share now, what I want to show you guys now is, all right, a Normies guide to the alt-right. This is old, guys, by the way. This is archived, right? This is from 2016. And this is the darkest ruckus of the internet, right? And, you see the Hitler, the moon with the sunglasses, all that. So they're all about memes, right? And he goes into the alt-right and all of the different types of avenues that someone can get into the alt-right, as well as the different subcultures within the alt-right. So let's get into it a little bit. An accurate history of the alt-right. Roughly 4 years ago, a new type of white nationalist movement began to form on the internet. This was mostly made up of young people who were formulating ideas with minimal influence from the old white nationalist movements. So we have troll culture, right? They're making a lot of memes and so forth on 4chan. And Hitler is usually like one of the subjects that come up. Conspiracy theorism. Conspiracy theory was really big like 10 years ago, right? Alex Jones and these guys are really big. And that's not to say that everything in conspiracy that conspiracy theorists come up with is wrong. Some of the things are correct and they have evidence for it. But if you take everything that they're saying as a whole, they have their own type of belief and ideology, right? That comes along with that. So this is a picture of the Bohemian Grove. And that was actually a really big deal when the Bohemian Grove came out, when the footage of people worshiping like at the Bohemian Grove, like politicians and like rich businessmen going to the Bohemian Grove to worship there. I mean, that was actually a really big deal, but it's really hard to find that original footage right now. I think Alex Jones was the one who got it, but then he has a bunch of crazy other theories which made him lose credibility. Anyways, you have InfoWars, Rents, Red Ice. That's not to say that this isn't true. Like the Bohemian Grove actually does exist, but conspiracy theorem as a whole, as a total, right? Can lead to alt-right beliefs because of all the other things, all right? Libertarianism is a philosophical concept, basically hands-off, small government. The Manosphere, okay, so there you go. I mean, this is even before the term Red Pill even came out. They're saying right here, Normies Guide to the Alt-Right 2016, guys, this is like a while back, all right? You have the Manosphere right here. At the same time 4chan was discovering Adolf Hitler, the pickup artist community was in the process of transforming into what is now called the Manosphere. These are groups of men disillusioned with feminism and society. Having used the starting point of feminism to look at the ills of our modern society, many of these men began to look at the Jews, who happen to have invented feminism, as playing a destructive role in the development of modern Western culture. So they went from, all right, this is how we pick up women, to thinking, so what's wrong with the system? Why can't we get married? Why are all women like this? To, okay, well, it must have been feminism that's the problem, to, okay, well, who started feminism? To, so it moved from men and men's issues to political activism to alt-right ideology. And I'm not saying it always has to be that way, but we see the connection here. And I wanted to show you that video with Vox Day being cited by Rollo Tomassi, so you can see in real time how this article written in 2016 is correct, right? So anyways, you have Return of Kings. For those of you who know the Manosphere Red Pill movement pickup artist, Return of Kings is a well-known website. Roosh is well-known as well. And he started off originally a purely manosphere-oriented site, which now covers a variety of political and social issues. So there you go. I mean, it's well known. Like a lot of these guys, pickup artists, anti-feminist blog, which has moved progressive into politics, alt-right politics, obviously, right? contributions, anti-feminism, anti-homosexuality, men's rights. Gamergate, I don't know why Vox Day is under Gamergate, but there you go, guys. Vox Day is right there, right? So, and again, Vox Day, when you click on that link, pretty sure that's going to be archived too, if we can even see it, right? And it's like Google has basically stopped us from actually seeing his blog. So I'm really happy that I was actually able to find some of Vox Day's old stuff, because it's hard to find, right? But he is very well known. Vox is very well known in the alt-right sphere. Old white nationalist movement, right? David Duke, another well-known guy. Identitarian movements, that's important too. Identitarians are basically those people who have a less hardcore approach to the whole white nationalist thing, and they might identify as homosexual, but they want to join with the alt-right, or they believe in the alt-right movement. They might identify as like Vikings or like, or I don't know, pagans and stuff like. So they'd be more on the identitarian side, and you can see because the statute, like identifying with the old Greco-Roman values. So instead of old Christian values or ethno-nationalist white values so there's multiple ways someone can define Western civilization, either old style Christendom or pagan values like Greco-Roman values or Vikings or whatever it is that your country is from, you identify with that, or just simply like white nationalism, right? So there's multiple different ways that they identify what Western civilization is. So that's what identitarianism would be. Reboot of the white nationalist movement, basically online, all of that. So what is their goal, right? What is the goal? They're creating why do they meme so much? And alt-right memes are the most consumed and popular memes online by a wide margin. No one else has as popular memes as they do. Because, I mean, honestly, some of their memes are actually really funny. So I can see why people who don't know anything about the alt-right will still consume their content and think it's funny. Creating a counterculture which eventually becomes the dominant culture. So the end goal of the alt-right is to first solidify a stable and self-sustaining counterculture, and then eventually push this into becoming the dominant culture in the same way that the Jewish-led revolutionary counterculture of the 1960s has now become the dominant culture of the West. We have to give credit where credit is due. Have they succeeded in this goal? Yes, absolutely they're succeeding in this goal. Just the fact that Donald Trump was voted for, and he openly endorsed some alt-right groups that are considered by the FBI as terrorist groups, shows you how far along they've come. Not only that, but the youth who have never heard of freaking Roosh, or have never heard of Rollo Tomassi, or have never even heard of Redpill, are using the terminology of their movements. So they're saying stuff like certified alpha, he's a simp, he's a cuck, this guy's a beta male, stuff like that. They say it in good humor. They're not really using it with the understanding that they have the ideology of the red pill or the alt-right. They don't have that ideology. But my point is that the phraseology and the terminologies of those groups have become part of popular everyday mainstream culture, which means that, yes, they are slowly but surely becoming the dominant culture. They're trying to win in the culture wars, basically them versus the media and so forth. Astaghfirullah, I'm gonna skip that. They hate Jewish people, so they're like, this is like a white nationalist thing. What we just scrolled by was a white nationalist thing where they're like, oh, Dawood, peace be upon him, cheated in the fight against the noble white man, or astaghfirullah, man, may Allah curse these people who make fun of Dawood alayhi salam. But you see their hatred of other groups and other people, right? Anti-Semitism is part of it. I'm just gonna scroll through this really quick. White countries for white people, scientific racism, right? Alt-right does not accept the pseudo-scientific claims that all races are equal, and instead looks at the real science of race, which shows that they have vastly different abilities, drives, and intelligence levels. So this is eventually circle on back to, oh, well, white people are smarter than black people, and you all deserve to be slaves and so forth. Same thing with women, claim that men and women are equals, looked at as entirely ridiculous by the alt-right. So they're gonna, they're again looking at women from that scientific evolutionary perspective point of view to say that we're better than you or whatever, right? Endorsement of white history, alt-right celebrates the greatness of our ancestors and the glory of our historical achievements. Rejecting revisionist arguments by modern social scientists which portrays whites as having wrought evil on the planet, we view whites as the creators and maintainers of Western civilization. So there you go, right? And then you have some other stuff, right? These are some of their memes and stuff like that. Pepe the frog, that green frog you see everywhere. Bane is another one of them. Normie. I mean, come on, that's kind of funny. The glasses and everything. Didn't do nothing, that's making fun of black people. This is the meme guys. Cuck, right? I mean, are you kidding? Carl the Cuck. I can't help but laugh, but some of it's not funny, but some of it is funny. White genocide, at least still have a constitution. We was Kangs is making fun of black people again, making fun of Jewish people. I mean, you keep going on and on this kind of stuff. So let's take a pause right there before I go on to the next one. So I showed you all, right? This is 2016. And let's look at, and this is going to come up later. 1488 is an old skinhead and white nationalist battle cry. 14 refers to the 14 words coined by David Lane. We must secure the existence of our people and a future for the white children. There's also another version of the 14 words, which is like, for the beauty of the white woman must never perish from the earth, something like that. And with 88, an 88-word paragraph from Adolf Hitler, Mein Kampf. So 88 referring to Hitler and 14 referring to the 14 words, right? Let's go to, sorry about that. Let's go to another journal. This one is more, this is 2020. So this was a lot more recent, you know what I'm saying? And we see how everything is coming together, right? And we see how people that say, oh, we're not really white supremacists, what we're really getting is, no, you don't think that you are supporting a cause like that, but really you are supporting all of that old ideology. It's just been repackaged and reflavored, right? So the great meme war, the alt-right and its multifarious enemies. So this goes more into Muslims because it's 2020 right now. So this goes more into like the memes they have against Muslims. So if I scroll down, alt-right has been a major actor of the online culture wars of the past few years, came to prominence during the 2014 Gamergate controversy. And they're trying to like define the movement basically. Let's see here. Foreign civilizational enemy. Who do you think that is, guys? I'll give you a guess. It's obviously the Muslims, right? They see Muslims as a very strong competitor, and they also are very jealous of Muslims because all of the things that they complain about with, feminism taking over and liberalism taking over, they see Muslims as strong, and we're not influenced by that stuff. And we still have our old system, right? We haven't changed or adopted for anybody, and we're sticking true to our values, and they're very jealous of that, right? And they wish to emulate that. And you'll see that sometimes they're very open about how they want to emulate Muslims. And I'm going to show you how. Even though they hate Muslims, will not kill them, they are also very jealous of them. And I'm going to show you proof for that later. So we see here some of the memes. Rape refugees. This is obviously talking about Muslim refugees coming into Europe, and they're saying, oh, you guys are all rapists, you're not welcome, I'm going to kick you all out of the country. Orc posting, the orcs from Lord of the Rings, how there was like millions and millions of them, and like the strong humans would like fight like 100 orcs all at once. If you've never seen Lord of the Rings, just go watch a few YouTube video clips from it. This is fine. The Uruk-hai will assimilate within 3 or 4 generations. The real problem is Urukophobia. So they're saying Muslims are orcs, basically. They're just savage barbarians at the gates, and we need to be eliminated the way that the orcs were eliminated in Lord of the Rings. And, you have other stuff coming along here. Let me just pause for a second. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So I had to pause the video for a second. I just want everyone to kind of absorb what I'm talking about. And I want everyone to understand why I'm bouncing between Red Pill and alt-right. I want everyone to get a deep dive into the alt-right culture to truly understand how this connection works, right? So as I said before, be a little patient because I'm going to keep going through more alt-right stuff before I get back into Red Pill stuff again. So let me share screen here once again. So I'm going to link this if you guys want to read it for yourselves. It's a pretty good article that talks about this. And again, like we're having scientific journals talking about this subject as well. So white Sharia, right? Amongst the racist chants of blood and soil, Jews will not replace us, and white lives matter at the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville in August, this was year 2017, was a more inscrutable demand: white Sharia now, right? So what was I telling you guys about the alt-right? They hate Muslims, but they're also jealous of Muslims for everything, for the resistance, ideological resistance and religious resistance that Muslims have been able to put up against all of these different ideas that their cultures have succumbed to. So they literally have a term called white Sharia now, which means that the same thing that Muslims have, where the woman is gonna listen to her husband, she stays at home while the man goes out at work, and certain traditional values, and even covering up and so forth. They want the white people version of that. And they want to go back to the old, I guess, the old European law on how women were viewed as. Basically, they had way less rights than Muslim women have, and they want to just kind of enforce that, right? I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I mean, I'm going to show you just another alt-right writer. Barbarity is not foreign to us whites, he wrote in an article titled In Defense of White Sharia, a response to the aforementioned. Whites did not conquer the entire earth by being nice and civilized. Whites conquered the world by sailing into foreign lands and taking those lands by force. Vikings, crusaders, conquistadors alike were all practitioners of rape, pillage, and plunder. After bemoaning that whites have lost our barbarity, Van Dahl, he's the author who's writing this, right? He's another well-known blogger like Fox Day is. Van Dahl offers this rationale for adopting the Islamic concept of Sharia law. The Muslim world is the only civilization left on earth today where an extreme and rigidly codified patriarchy still exists. Sharia law, though practiced today by some of the world's most despicable races, like it's basically talking about Muslims, is the only living example of anything that even remotely approximates the patriarchal society that Western man once had himself. In his conclusion, Van Dahl writes, when I say we will have white Sharia in white Afghanistan, aka rural America, one day it means we will have an extremely tribal patriarchy in the ethno-state, right? So these are ethno-nationalists. So you guys are seeing how all of this is coming along, subhanAllah. And if I show you guys, I didn't have this tab saved up, but if I show you guys white Sharia, sorry, I spelled it wrong, white Sharia memes, right? I'm gonna go to images right here. Astaghfirullah, guys, just kind of get along with it. I mean, there was one very famous meme that was up for a while. There we go. There's the picture. There we go. There we go. Sharia. So they have a picture here of Abu Bakr Baghdadi, and then they have a picture of Bain for white Sharia. And remember what we did in the Normies guide, right? Back in the Normies guide, Bain was, you know, one of the memes that they had. So they use Bain a lot for their memes. It's kind of like that white nationalist, aggressive militant, you know. Anyways, worships Kek. Kek is the green frog, reads Mein Kampf, memes 5 times a day, puts SLUTS in check, right? And then, you know, you can read this on your own, but I mean, just pause it and read it, and you'll see, right? Thoughts here, THOTS, that is that hoe over there, right? So that's a term for basically SLUTS, for sluts, basically, and bad girls, or girls that are very loose sexually. So they want to implement some type of control, right? And that's where that red pill theory comes in, right? That women are hypergamous by nature, and if you give them the opportunity, they'll just leave you for a man who's higher in status, and we need to keep them in check and keep them in control and blah, blah, blah. And they have their own thoughts on Islam, and they have their own vision of Islam. And in that vision, they're thinking, oh, well, that version of Islam that we think is Islam, they're barbaric and savage, and that's how they're able to resist the liberal and the feminist propaganda. And so we need to be savage and barbaric and return to our roots as white people who were colonizing and raping and conquering the world. Does that kind of make sense for you? So I've showed you this. Now I want to show you a real life example of an actual alt-right group that uses the red pill to recruit. And this is like documented. So I'm going to show you guys right here. This is from a website called the Proudboys Whisperer. And the woman who does the research, this is her Proud Boys attack map, right? So every time there's an attack by the Proud Boys group that's verified, they add it to this map. You can see a lot of them here in Canada because the Proud Boys started in Canada, right? And they're, you know, back a few years ago when you used to watch in the news, we'd hear all these like random stories about like a hijabi girl walking the street just getting attacked randomly by someone or getting beat up. Usually those are the Proud Boys. One of the initiation rituals that they have is to attack an enemy group or fight an enemy group or get into a fight with whoever they perceive in an enemy group, which is why you see them at like leftist rallies, picking fights with them or trying to put themselves in a position where someone picks a fight with them and then they can claim self-defense. So here in New York, they attacked a village in New York City, not New York City, sorry, New York State, called Islamburg, where it's like a Sufi village where a bunch of Muslims just have their farms there and live there. So they went there to mess with them. You see on all the major cities, there's attacks there. And Donald Trump himself, you know, endorsed the Proud Boys, right? And according to the FBI, according to the own government, right? FBI now classifies the Proud Boys as an extremist group with ties to white nationalism, right? So there you have it. So now let's look at one of the academic papers, Taking the Red Pill, Understanding the Allure of Conspiratorial Thinking Among Proud Boys. So Samantha Kuttner is the same person that runs that website that I was showing you with the incident attack map. So I'm going to read a little bit of it. Proud Boys are one of the most dangerous organizations in the Western world because they reframe their extremism as an assertion of their masculinity. It is through this masculine lens that they covertly radicalize Western men. Rigid gender norms posit that fighting back when the whole world is perceived to be against you is natural. So basically, we're under attack. The white man is under attack. We're going to be replaced by all of these immigrants, and our birth rates are declining and so forth. So what do? We have to fight back and attack enemy groups. Here we go. To understand the Proud Boys, it is important to understand one of the primary stages of their recruitment, taking the red pill. Right? The red pill is the gateway into conspiratorial thinking, which drives the majority of far-right violent extremism. What is the definition of red pill, right? Taking the red pill is a reference to the nation. We already know that. I'm going to go to this part. In this context, the red pill refers to men awakening to the reality of male subjugation by women under feminism, right? So when that becomes the definition of red pill, then, and you have a group like this, who do you think they're going to attack? Who do you think they're going to go after? What's something that the alt-right perceives the Muslims as? They perceive the Muslims as being let in by the liberal government to replace them and all these Muslim immigrants and blah, 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 right? The red pill dovetails includes the fear that white men will lose their standing in a world they cannot dominate and lose their women to black or brown men. And that is something common in the red pill forums, that white women basically suck and white people, their birth rate are declining and Western civilization is messed up. And there's this whole concept in the red pill communities of enjoying the decline, meaning that Western civilization is falling. There's nothing we can do about it. So let's just use the feminist system to our advantage, where women don't expect marriage, and just use it to our advantage and sleep with as many women as possible. So when someone has that nihilistic viewpoint, that it's just going to waste and there's no point, and then a group like the Proud Boys comes in, or any of these alt-right groups come in and said, hey, we noticed that you see that the West is declining and you're upset about that. Instead of sleeping with a lot of women, how about you also do something about it? Come join our group and let's do something about it. You see how the recruitment works, right? This fear is known by another term in extremist circles as white genocide. White genocide, or the Great Replacement, is the concept that changing racial demographics are leading to white extinction. I mean, this was all over Anders Breivik's manifesto and Tarrant's manifesto, right? This erasure is believed to be facilitated by a Jewish cabal pushing immigration of non-white individuals in order to further emasculate white men, etc. Right? I mean, we can keep going on and on. Proud Boys is a multiracial white supremacist organization. Because remember, I said now ethno-nationalism is repackaged. It's old world white supremacism, but it's repackaged now and given a new flavor. So multiple different people who believe in Western civilization can, or believe in the concept of Western civilization, can be on board. The concept of a multiracial organization with white supremacist goals merits further explanation. In the United States, there's no unifying cultural identity of whiteness, right? Amidst this cultural vacuum, and remember what I was talking about earlier here, I mean, there's multiple different ways someone can define Western civilization, either identitarian, old world, Greco-Roman, pagan values, or Christendom, Crusader values, right? Referring to those as knights or so forth, or just simply white people, right? Just anyone who's white, that's how we're going to define Western culture, because there's no real unifying cultural identity of whiteness. Amidst this cultural vacuum, Proud Boys present a paradigm built on culturally normative sadism coupled with aggrieved male entitlement. So by saying that you are under attack by feminism and your rights as a man is stripped away, people that hold this view, whether they're white or not, can join the movement without realizing that the movement, or what the movement is about. Does that make sense? There's a lot of stuff here that's not safe for work, but I want you guys to see this kind of stuff anyways. It's important because let's say someone is a police officer and his job is to catch rapists. Eventually he might have to watch some of their videos or read some of their material. Same thing with pedophilia. Is that stuff going to bother him? Absolutely, it will bother them. Will it burn their soul? Yeah, but it's necessary if you're going to catch the criminal, right? So it's necessary that we see these videos and these pictures and these things to understand the culture, right? And to know what we're dealing with here. A network analysis of white nationalism, the recruitment pipeline from alt-Lite to alt-right. So I've already showed you more proof, right? And there's unequivocal proof now that Proud Boys, one of the groups that the FBI considers to be extremist, recruits through Redpill, right? And other sources mention that they use Redpill forums, right? Remember what I was talking about, Western civilization? I'm going to scroll through this quickly. I don't want to show you guys everything. You guys can read this on your own time, but here you go. The West is the best, Proud Boys. So remember what I was trying to talk about, right? Terrorists like Anders Breivik, who considers himself a Templar and a Crusader, right? Pagan groups that consider themselves pagan or Vikings, right? Like some groups in Germany, right? Proud Boys in Canada and America. Those super racist groups of like French people that go around and attack Muslims, and they have actual ties with the right-wing branches in French government. They all have different definitions of what the West is, but they all agree on this term. The West is best, and the West is declining, and we want to regain our dominance, right? So we'll keep scrolling down a little bit, and you can see they show some of their memes up here and stuff like that. This is one guy being like sworn in. You have videos. This is a really good article, right, to read. Hospital bills for Antifa shills. So they're basically like Proud Boys getting in and getting into fights with Antifa or any of these leftist groups. They consider that like a badge of honor, right? So if we keep scrolling down, dnew.site, right? So we'll take a look at this. Mark Lacey is the experienced creator at AFEKT Media, a company that is really good at creating innocent-looking memes that are powerful tools of white nationalist propaganda. This is his Twitter profile, and he made a new website, dnew.site. Why? Because just like how I showed you with Vox Day, on Twitter and all these other forums and so forth, they keep getting deleted. Their stuff keeps getting deleted. So instead of Twitter, you have Gab, and instead of other websites now, they're going to different forums and different ways to chat with each other so that they can congregate and talk and share their ideology and share their strategies and so forth. So the site mentioned in his bio, dnew.site, is his newest project, an open platform where subliminal messaging, dank memes, and conspiracy theories coalesce in a user-friendly platform. So let's take a look, right, at some of the people on the website. So we have James McLeod, white nationalist, OEF veteran, helicopter pilot, digital media strategist at Proud Boys girls. We are the wives, girlfriends, cheerleaders of the Proud Boys and the fraternal order of the Alt-Knights. Remember what I was saying, how a lot of these guys see themselves as crusaders, right? Fighting back against the Muslim invaders and so forth. That's literally how they see themselves. And those pictures of Templars fighting were all over Anders Breivik's manifesto, right? And he is a big influence. Just the fact that many alt-right groups will say, Saint Breivik, pray for us, shows in and of itself how much they look up to him. Proud Boys, Anthony Hilal, remember the 14 words of white nationalism. We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children. And he has the Syrian flag here because they love Bashar al-Assad for killing all of those Muslims and cementing an iron rule and iron fist. That's what they think is amazing. Like they like that kind of stuff. This girl, I don't know how to pronounce this name, the Harami girl, it has come to this identitarian. Remember what I said about identitarians? Valkyrie pagan. Valkyrie is like those old world, like Norse Viking woman, right? Pro-eugenics, quality over quantity. Proud Boys again, spooky millennial, moderate American fascist, rapeable, right? And then we have that picture of a girl's butt there. Our people are considered rapeable by the forces, meaning the Jews that promote the New World Order. Wake up and fight back. All right, so much of the symbolism in these images is densely coded and must be unpacked. Here are two examples, the 14-word bio. I mean, I already talked about this earlier, and I also talked about the Syrian flag as well, right? And I mean, we can keep going on and on about this kind of stuff, you understand? So how does all of this affect our community, right? I think that's what we need to talk about right now. And before I show you, I want to show you guys one more thing to show you guys that, yes, they do, hate Muslims and are jealous of Muslims. Also, this is a white supremacist group called the Base, literally the Base, like Al-Qaeda, the Base, like it's just an English translation of the Base, right? and made up of small terroristic cells, the base believes society should be pushed to collapse so a white ethno-state can arise out of the ruins. It is not an organization that seeks to build popular appeal. So I'm trying to show you guys this type of weird blend of looking up to and being jealous and hating and wanting to kill Muslims, while at the same time taking some of Islamic concepts or groups that they think are Islamic to try and add to their own ideology, right? Saying, oh, look, the Muslims are getting stronger, we should too, etc. Right? And again, I'm gonna put this as a source, you can read it if you want to. So the question is, how does this affect our community, right? And here, paper that came out in 2021, very recent, right? This one. So everyone, you see you have Osama bin Laden, old picture of Osama bin Laden, but then with the skull mask, which was what the white nationalists do. Islamogram, Salafism, alt-right online subcultures. If you identify yourself as Salafi, then don't be offended. I'm not bashing my Salafi brothers and sisters, but it's important to understand how intelligence agencies define Salafism and why they would use this term instead of just saying Muslims in general. So for the time being, just ignore this phrase and just try and look at what they're doing, right? The thing itself. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And then basically this is a review and a search into all the memes and groups, right? So the researchers identified 60 Islamogram accounts on Instagram with a total of 162,000 followers at the time of writing, generating almost 2.9 million interactions across their posts and growing their follower accounts by 22% during the research period. Additionally, ISD researchers joined 6 Islamogram-linked Discord servers with a collective membership of 4,478 followers and identified 22 Telegram channels, 24,000 followers, 21 Facebook pages and groups, and 3 Reddit threads with Islamogram influencers with 7,000. So they're going into all of these different groups to see, okay, what's the culture like? Okay, how does this affect our Muslims? So when the Muslims go on and get involved in Redpill, and then they get involved from Redpill into alt-right ideas, right? And they say, oh, this must be correct and so forth. What does that lead to? The future is already here. I'll show you what I mean. So we scroll down. This is the Chad, Western white guy, and then this is the Chad Arab, right? You and I are different. Let's fight. And then you see the big-brained LGBT, HDTV activist. You are fascists. Ah. Brothers, yes. Okay. So this is a very naive meme. Like brothers with who? Brothers with the alt-right? Like brothers with this guy? Alt-right dude who shot up 51 people at a mosque and literally wrote in his manifesto that it's okay to kill Muslim children because they're going to grow up to be Muslims anyway, and they're going to be the enemy. One Muslim dead is one less Muslim that your children will have to deal with. Literally writes something like that in his manifesto. So we see how this stuff is affecting our youth. Keep going down, right? I mean, you see the Pepe the Frog mix. So there's like a mix of the different alt-right memes with the, this Pepe the Frog right there. So you can keep scrolling down. So they're mixing the memes together. You see like Hitler saying Salamun alaikum. So they're kind of saying, oh, well, Hitler was right about this and that, right? Keep going down. Keep going down. Some of these are funny, like liberal Muslim starter pack, only Allah can judge. I've seen this meme before. So let's just, I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to keep, it's like really long, guys. They add Pepe the Frog with Afghanistan people. Okay, here you go. This is like all of the liberal horde, right, attacking. And then, you have the Muslim soldier saying together and then the crusader saying together, right? So, and then a comment here, nothing but facts, right? So you see that where this is going to, right? And it gets a little bit worse. Here you go, shaking hands, Hitler with like a Muslim imam. And they're like, oh, well, the Muslims back in World War II were supporting Hitler, not because they were killing all of the Jewish people and gassing them in torture chambers. They were supporting Hitler because they thought that Hitler would be an ally with them against being colonized. So they took one thing, which is some historical accounts of Muslims being on the side of the Nazis, and saying, okay, well, then that means Nazi ideology is correct in XYZ aspect. So taking things to an extreme, or warping historical facts. And then here, I mean, this is what I wanted to show you. That's what I mean when I say the future, right? La ilaha illallah, they're taking the Islamic symbolisms. I know this is like the ISIS, what was the ISIS flag, right? Mixing the Hitler sign and the Confederate flag. But even though the group ISIS took these things, these are still like Islamic, you know, la ilaha illallah is the sign of Tawheed. Doesn't matter that ISIS or any group uses it. It's still, this is Muslim, right? This is about Islam, right? And they're taking that and they're mixing the different ideologies together, and then someone mashed this up together. I mean, 20 years ago, even like someone can say whatever they want about those people who are like fighting and are mujahids, or they consider themselves to be mujahids. People can say whatever they want about them, but 20, 30 years ago, you would have never seen something like this. They would have never thought to mix these, right, together into getting a flag like this. And such an idea of such an alliance would be even like not even on the table, right? But now we see that what can happen to our Muslim youth, and it's already happening, and these researchers have seen it, right? So I'm going to stop sharing screen here to kind of discuss what I mean. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. So I hope all of this is making sense. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about what everything we've just seen here, and how we have unequivocal proof that the Red Pill and the Manosphere and the Alt-Right are all part of the same community, and the issues that comes with that, and some possible solutions that we can think of as a community. One being that Red Pill isn't a solution to Muslim problems, right? Muslims have Islam, and Islam is the solution to the alt-right's problems that they're going through. They don't even have a definition of what Western civilization is. They just argue amongst themselves. It's a morally bankrupt ideology, right? And it's not an ideology founded on anything other than the color of your skin and your genetics. How far is that going to take you, right? Islam offers something much more, much deeper. It is the true path, and it offers solutions to their issues, right? And they're aware of this, but they don't want to let go of their West is best, and they don't want to let go of their arrogance. So they hold on to the ethno-nationalist idea, stick with that, and they want to fight us because they're not willing to understand that they're upon falsehood and we're upon truth, right? So the problem is that, for example, you had some of the Red Pill Muslim community bringing in Rollo Tomassi, right, in a podcast and talking to him as if he was the expert. He's not the subject matter expert on anything. His book, Rational Male, doesn't have any sources, right? And he's citing sources that are not only dubious, but straight up have nothing to do with social sexual theory, other than the fact that they're respected alt-right writers. And I showed you all that. So I want, as a community, we need to acknowledge that we have the solution for people like Rolo Tomasi. He has nothing to offer us. He has nothing to offer us. What we can do, if we wanted to, is to address the grievances of the Red Pill community and say, okay, this is where your community is right, and this is the 10, 20 million other things that you got wrong. And Islam offers a solution for all of this, right? Mahdi Jani and Muhammad Hijab were arguing about how can you say not to marry divorcees? And I think that's missing the point entirely, because even people that have nothing to do with Red Pill, if their son who's never been married before wants to get married to a divorcee, most of them would say no for very obvious reasons, right? That's not to say that divorcees are bad, right? But there's different people for different types of marriages, right? So there are issues within the Muslim community, yes, but Red Pill isn't the solution. But we have to address the grievances that people are going through. So for example, 10, 15 years ago, you had stupid stuff like people hashtagging, oh, Salafi feminist or whatever, which made no sense. But now they used to say, I mean, before they used to say feminism has a lot of legitimate things in it, and it addresses women's problems, and a lot of Islam is compatible with feminism. And so they let in the feminist Trojan horse with all of the liberal ideology inside of that horse, and it infected our Muslim community. Now it's the same thing with Redpill. Redpill's like, oh, we're teaching you the nature of woman, nothing more than that, guys. We're just teaching you the nature of woman and how things work and how you can do better in your marriage and so forth. And you as a Muslim can take the good and leave the bad. And so you bring in the red pill Trojan horse, and in it is all of the alt-right ideology, because they share the same premises and they share the same fundamental and foundational principles. So then you let that into your community, and now it's been infected, right, with alt-right ideology. And I shown you with a report from 2021 of what that can lead to. Like, who the heck would think about merging an ISIS flag and a Nazi flag? Like, what the, like, it's just boggles the mind. But all of this is possible, and you can't make this stuff up. I could never even imagine this possibility. So what I'm showing you is the reality on the ground of what we're facing, what we have to deal with, right? When the Muslims bring in someone like Rollo Tomassi on a podcast, like Abu American and Daniel Haqiqatjou and Mahdi Tijani, and these guys had Rich Cooper and Rollo Tomassi on a podcast. But then my question is, what is Rollo Tomassi the expert on? He's written a lot of books, but none of his books have sources. So which sources that he's bringing up are correct, right? Don't we have to differentiate that before we bring someone like that on, and bring him on like he's the teacher, even though he's really not the teacher, right? He talks about things that the pickup artist community has already talked about a long time ago. They talk about one-itis and not getting married and things like that. And he's been married for 20 years. At least the pickup artist of the old school style pickup artists from 20 years ago, and from 10 years ago, they would show proof of work. They'd show themselves live footage talking to girls. They'd show themselves pictures with women in their private rooms and stuff like that. And some people say that's fake and it's staged, but then they'd also have classes, and people on the forums would bear witness and say, yo, I took this guy's class. I literally saw him go to the club, talk to like 5 girls and pick up 4 of them and go back home with them. And like, this guy actually knows what he's doing and he's a master, right? So you had the pickup artist doing stuff like that. And now these Red Pill coaches don't do anything like that. Half of them are married for a very long time. They don't practice what they preach in terms of seduction. One of the Red Pill coaches that Rollo Tomassi brings on all the time used to be a gay author, a gay writer for Vice News, and infiltrate gay clubs and write about how the gay nightlife in the UK is dwindling and what can we do about it and stuff like that. And this is not the topic of the video, which is why I'm not going to bring that kind of stuff up, but a lot of them are frauds. So my advice to these Muslim brothers, because you are my Muslim brothers and I care about you guys, is that you're siding with the wrong dudes. They're going to get exposed sooner or later, and it's going to make you all look bad. Really, like people like that. And already people in the pickup artist community hate these Red Pill guys and Red Pill coaches because they see them as frauds. But the next thing that we have to be careful about, especially if you're in the dawah scene, my advice to you, my brothers and sisters, I mean, my brothers really, there's no really no sisters in the dawah scene dealing with this, but my brothers in the dawah scene, right? Be careful of ending up like the people that were exposed a few years back. Daniel Haqiqatjou, for example, did amazing, great work exposing Umar Suleiman and other people. I mean, you had a video of Jonathan Brown himself saying that I totally support the right to the secular right in the United States, not in other countries, but in the United States, I totally support the secular right to curse the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ because of that. I mean, stuff like that, that's like out there statements. And he's the director of Hadith at Yaqeen Institute, right? And then you had all the things with Umar Suleiman working with LGTB plus activists, right? But then if you start bringing on people like Rollo Tomassi or any red pill figure like Rich Coop and all of these other guys, if you start bringing on these guys in, then you risk becoming the right-wing version of Umar Suleiman. Umar Suleiman was known for being the guy who brought in all these left-wing figures. You risk becoming the right-wing version of Umar Suleiman, who just teams up with a bunch of right-wing figures and alt-right figures and red pill figures, because red pill and alt-right are connected. And I've proven that in this video, that they are one and part of the same community. So Rollo Tomassi might not have declared war on the Muslims, really, but he's part of a community, and that larger community has, right? They want to take us down. You can't be naive about this fact, guys. Muslim brothers and sisters, you cannot be naive about these facts. We need to be strong. And someone might say, well, what's wrong with those memes before that showed like the the Muslim warrior and the Crusader warrior working together or whatever, right? Salah ad-Din, for example, he made deals with the Crusaders and ceasefires and yes, but it's all of Salah ad-Din is making the decision as the leader coming from a place of strength. He sure as hell did not mix a flag that with the La ilaha illallah on it with a flag with a cross on it. He didn't do something like that. But we see now when these youth imbibe red pill, what they can do. Yes, I know that that's technically the ISIS flag, right? But all of these groups have usually some shahada on it. The shahada is an Islamic thing. So because some group that we disagree with has La ilaha illallah on their flag, we step on the flag? No, we don't. The flag is the Muslims, is an Islamic symbol. Whether it's been misappropriated by a group doing the wrong thing, that's a different story, right? We can disagree with the group, but the Muslim symbols are Muslim symbols, right? And most groups, for the most part, Muslim extremist groups and so forth, will use Islamic symbols. I mean, what else are they going to use? Christian symbols? But you see where this can go, where this can lead. One, it's going to lead Muslims to Muslim extremists, right? And two, it's going to lead to some weird ideological blending in, where even if they don't become Muslim extremists, now they are very antagonistic to members of their own Muslim community now for not being hardcore enough or whatever, right? So I would say that what we should do is we should, one, be aware that the red pill community, even if they compliment Muslims for having it right, they're not necessarily our friend. We need to give them dawah, not bring them in and ask them, oh, teach us your red pill theories, oh, masters, right? We need to give them dawah. They need the solution. We don't need their solutions, right? So I'm open to discussion. I'm open to even like debating this issue because I think it's a very important issue, right? And I think that the brothers and sisters who are getting in on the red pill movement don't really understand what they're getting themselves involved in and where it's going to lead to, right? So khair, inshallah. I love you all for the sake of Allah. Take care. Peace out. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.